Will you give me a sign, Dibul? Hello, everyone, and welcome to this third talk of the symposium commemorating the life of Professor Gerhard Kraetzschmar. Today's talk is given by Professor Fernando Ribeiro of the Universidade do Minho Robótica in Portugal. I'm Imena Awed, your host and moderator for this session. Gerhard was many things to me. He was the professor who taught my favorite elective course in the master's program almost 15 years ago now. He was my Doktorvater, as we say here in Germany, or my PhD supervisor, and he was a good friend. As we've already heard from various speakers throughout this week, he was a man of great humor and joie de vivre, and he pursued all his interests with a passion so strong that it was truly inspiring to others, a trait that was very evident in the lecture halls in our university here. Many students it's still the first thing that they will recall. Today's speaker, Professor Ribeiro, will shine a light on Gerhard's activities in impacting and motivating youngsters the world over, who were no more immune to his larger-than-life character and his passion than the rest of us not so young were. Professor Ribeiro shares with us the whole story behind a talk that Gerhard gave to teens and even preteens back in 2009 on whether they should become engineers. Dr. Ribeiro is not only associate professor in the Department of Industrial Electronics, but also a RoboCup trustee, very active in the mid-size league and the junior league. I believe also currently serving as a vice president. He's an IEEE senior member, founder of the IEEE Portuguese Robotics chapter, as well as the Portuguese Robotics Society, and obviously a very, very good and close friend of Gerhard's as well. Professor Ribeiro, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today. Professor Ribeiro? Okay. I think any second now we'll have a connection and everything should be fine. Hello.
Hello and good morning.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to do this talk, because it's very easy to talk about Gerhard Kraetzschmar.
Oh, thank you very, very much. Thank you. And I give you the floor, or rather the screen in this case.
Okay, so I will share my screen.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes.
Right, so you can see the screen, right? Okay, should I become an engineer? That's a hard question. Most students, when they are doing the secondary school, they have some doubts. What shall I study next? And a few years ago, I had this opportunity to ask Gerhard to answer that question. So my talk will be a little bit a description about who was Gerhard as a person and not as a scientific curriculum, because no one has doubts about the scientific curriculum of Gerhard Kraetzschmar. So I will describe him as a special or very special human being. So no one has doubts about the number of papers or the quality of some scientific work or nothing like that. So I will dedicate this to a very special person. I met Gerhard in '99 in RoboCup. He was the leader of a team on middle-sized league called the Ulm Sparrows. The Ulm Sparrows. I will come back to these Ulm Sparrows in my last slide. His team was also beginning in the middle-sized league, so all teams had difficulties. And I met him on a meeting, and at night when I went to the hotel, I was in my room watching television, the news, and suddenly I see Gerhard Kraetzschmar on television. I was surprised. Wow, how as a team leader, a simple person, and RoboCup was not so known like it is today. He was on television just talking to everyone, and it was quite inspiring to me. In 2001, he was still on the competition, and my team as well. We went to Seattle, to RoboCup 2001, and he was like the leader of the middle-sized teams. He would organize the meetings of the team leaders because of his strong initiative, strong leadership. He was, in fact, very special. And if there was some discussion about the rules or the field or whatever, you'd always just sort out the problems. Then Portugal was putting up a proposal to organize RoboCup in 2003. So in 2002, we went to Fukuoka, to RoboCup 2002, and with our teams, just to get some experience, to learn how to organize and all of that stuff. So, and Gerhard was there as well. And as far as I remember, he didn't take his team there, as far as I can remember. I'm not sure now, it's a long time, it's 18 years ago. But he spent most of the time with us. So because we didn't have the team over there, so we were refereeing many games, and we enjoyed that very much. So we could enjoy the event more than if we were worried with our teams. Then in 2003, it was in Padova, in Italy. So we have our teams there and competing and all of that, but especially the team leaders had to referee some games because there are no professional referees, and it was the team leaders who used to referee the games. Once again, his leadership was indisputable. Sometimes there were arguments about if this rule was correct or incorrect, or if the robot collided or did not collide. And sometimes there was some discussion, of course, small discussion, nothing serious, but he would have a very strong position, and you just sort it out in a very clean way, very simple. And in 2004, it was in Portugal. So he was here. Once again, he was leading the meetings with the team leaders and sorting out all the problems. He was becoming trustee. So he was in charge of discussing the rules, the fields, the committees deciding who's going to be in the executive committee or technical committee and all of that. I became a member of the executive committee on the middle size in 2004. So we became not just RoboCup colleagues, but friends and close friends. It was very easy to be friend of Gerhard. Then in 2005, it was Osaka in Japan. Once again, we were refereeing, and you can see Gerhard rushing and running during a referee. And I used to help him in some games, refereeing those. And in 2007, well, 2006, it was in Bremen. I didn't see Gerhard very much because he was busy organizing and all of that. So he was always busy. In 2007, it was in Atlanta, and Gerhard used to have a dinner, a meal with the Portuguese and Italians in every RoboCup. He used to go along with us very much. So there was, even though he was always busy working and working for RoboCup and sometimes working remotely to his university and even giving lectures, whatever. So he always had time for his friends. So he always had a kind word, even when he had to tell off someone. If he had to tell off someone, you do it, but in a kind way. In the end, you become friend with him, even after he tells you off. And it was normal on Gerhard. Also, he was involved in big decisions. For example, when Sony Aibo robot left the competition, so a committee had to decide which leg the platform would replace the Sony Aibo. And he was on that decision, on that committee. And in the end, they did decide for the Nawa robot. Okay. And he was always giving good arguments why selecting A or selecting B. Besides that, he was a good sportsman. Every year there was a real football game amongst friends of RoboCup friends. So we used to take some special shoes and some kit, and we used to play a real football game. Because what really happens is that we spend normally 1 week every year all together. So it's a group of friends, in fact. And Gerhard was a good player. He had a strong shoulder and used to run very much. And he had special dribblings. So we like to play with him. Well, normally, Germans are not very known for laughing a lot, I was told. But Gerhard, well, after that you meet Gerhard and you realize it's completely wrong. Gerhard, well, he never missed a good laugh. In this picture, we were using a bindi, some Indian person offered to us, and we were using it. And it was really, really, really funny. Then I had the chance to go to Iran Open with Gerhard and Changju, like a committee to assess the quality of the Iran Open. And this is on the right side, it's Mernaz. It's a lady who was our translator. And this was in the dinner. Once again, he would represent RoboCup and myself, but he would represent RoboCup very well. And he used to say whatever had to be said. And sometimes it was hard to say it, but he had no problems on saying those things. He was also very professional on his intents. If there was an official ceremony or so, he was very formal. You do very good speeches with strong beliefs and no problems in saying whatever was needed. He was always ready for a good drink, like a real German, wine or beer or whatever. Well, no problem about that. In 2008, we went to Suzhou in China, and of course he was there. He never missed a RoboCup, and he was, like I said, always ready to work, but also always ready to enjoy life and to talk to friends and to go to the banquet, the dinner, and all of that. It was not just work. He liked to enjoy life. Well, I flew through Frankfurt many times, and he used to be sometimes my company when RoboCup, for example, in Suzhou, I had to fly through Frankfurt, and then we did the rest of the remaining of the flight together. He was a very good company. In 2009, once again, we were having this dinner in Graz. RoboCup was in Austria. And once again, he had this dinner with the Portuguese and Italians. And sometimes we had big fights on these dinners, of course, friendly fights. He was a very good supporter, a strong supporter of Bayern Munich. And he was also arguing with me whether Cristiano Ronaldo was the best football player or if it was a German or Messi or whatever. And we had these argues for a long time. He was present in most award ceremonies, sometimes winning titles because he had a good research team, sometimes giving those awards, but as I said, present in every RoboCup. Then every year we used to have a football game between the human team and the middle-sized league winner team. And he used to participate all the time. In the first games, we were supposed to wear black trousers because of not confusing the robots with colors. And that's why in that picture, Pedro Lima is wearing some black plastics around the trousers. But, well, he was always ready to play against the robots. Then we spent also a long time in meetings. This is in Eindhoven, a trustees meeting. We spend 3-4 days, sometimes more, in a room while the teams are participating. We spend lots of time in meetings to discuss the future of RoboCup, changing of rules, which direction we should go, budget issues, deciding who would hold the next RoboCup, all that stuff. And once again, he was very keen in giving his opinion in all the subjects. And then we also used to take an official picture of trustees, normally with the playing area as the background. And there he was. This was my first year as trustee, 2013. Here we are in the final of middle-sized league in Eindhoven. And there he was, watching the games. This is a very impressive game. And the Chinese team won against the local team, Tech United. And it was quite a good game. There was about 3,000 people watching this game. I think it was the game, the final in RoboCup with more public. Then we went to Mexico, in RoboCup Mexico City, 2014. Once again in those meetings, Daniel Nardi was the president. He was always very intervenient with convincing arguments, like I said. Sometimes scientific arguments, sometimes human arguments. He was also very much involved on RoboCup Junior, which I will be talking later about it. You know, Junior is difficult to organize because of the complexity. You know, scientific complexity, Gerhard could sort it out easily, but you have new challenges on juniors, which sometimes you are not prepared, and he always had a strong word about it. That's the final game between the humans and the robots, and there was Gerhard, myself, Luca Iocci also, etc. Dan Lee also there. Peter Stone was always there as well, playing. And that's the official picture in 2014 in Mexico, after the game with the winner, which was Tech United in this case. That's the Tech United team. Then in 15, it was supposed to be Thailand organizing the RoboCup, but in fact, it was a big challenge because there was an internal political problem in Thailand, and we had to change. And we did go to Hefei in China, so we didn't have lots of time to organize it. But in fact, everything went all right. I mean, one of the reasons why we didn't go there is because Gerhard and the junior trustees didn't want to risk to take kids to a country where there was some kind of political instability or so. So we went to Hefei, and it was nicely organized as well. There was Gerhard very enthusiastic, playing against the robots and passing the ball to myself while dribbling a robot. By the way, you can see Manuela Veloso on the background. She was always supporting not the human team, but the robots team. And she kept screaming to Gerhard, pass the ball to the robots, don't score, leave the robots scoring. And it was really funny. Right, in Refei, Gerhard got the flag, the RoboCup flag, in order to organize the next RoboCup. Next RoboCup would be in 16 in Leipzig, in Germany. And he was the leader of the team, of the organizing team. And this picture shows his happiness of organizing RoboCup and receiving the flag for the next RoboCup. Well, by far his proposal took, it was the best proposal, and it took every single detail into consideration. Every single detail, above all, because he had all the experience from previous years as a trustee, so he knew all the answers. Right, so we organized 2016 with a large team, like Oscar and many others. And like I told you, we organized it with every single detail in mind. If you look carefully, he prepared the city tour with this character as a guide. Then there was this official photograph, and there he was in the middle. And as it happens every year, and also as it happens every year, again, the Portuguese, German dinner, or it didn't have to be a very posh place. Everywhere would be fine. So it was very easy to talk together because he raised the subjects, he was funny, he had arguments, he was very well informed in all matters, etc. And this was the organizing team. and they were congratulating the whole team for the organizing. It was one of the best RoboCup organizations I have seen so far. But let's go back to 2007, to my city. This is Guimarães is in the Minho region. Minho region is in the very north. It's very close to Spain. And it's a very historic city. It was a city where Portugal was born. So maybe you can notice some wall around the city here. And this was the first city where the first king was born. And it's very small with about 170,000 people, but very historic, but also very technological up front. It still has the castle with over 1,000 years old, big monuments, old church about 1,000 years old, the historic center, very narrow streets. So, I mean, it's really beautiful. And Gerhard used to visit also the places where RoboCup was and some other. I mean, it was not just working. He used to do some trip around to visit it. Well, like I told you, Guimarães is a World Heritage, was European Capital of Culture in 2012, European City of Sports 13, and one of the 7 wonders of Portugal. But like I told you, it is also technologically upfront. The School of Engineering is there, of University of Minho. So it's a city that links the past to the future. So we can have history, but also culture and science and technology. And our lab, it's in this corner over here, is well prepared for middle-sized league. So we used to play middle-sized league for many, many years. So we develop projects on electronics, mechanics, we do the software, we do basically the whole thing. And even though we are industrial electronics. So we have been involved in middle size. Also, we helped a team. We taught a team on soccer junior and also on at-home league. Besides that, well, we developed some projects. I won't take too long here, but we developed an omnidirectional verticalization wheelchair. We have some projects with drones. We developed an autonomous robot to pick up golf balls in driving ranges. We developed a robot, a large robot, to look for amphibians in roads with artificial intelligence. We developed a BB-8, about 0.5 meter big BB-8. We're using omnidirectional wheels, and we also participate in a Portuguese competition, which is autonomous driving. Well, we don't do just science, okay? We also do some tasks like every Christmas since 2006, we dedicate 1 week to adapt electronic toys for being able to be used by children with cerebral palsy. And then we offer those toys. So we adapt, so we put big switches, all of that. Also, we do some extracurricular projects. We participate in many competitions. We organize and we do some exhibitions. But above all, we do visit many schools, secondary schools, primary schools. They ask me to go and do some talk about how you build a robot. Well, I've been doing it for such a long time that we had to change the paradigm. So we realized a few things. We realized that university students lack some experience on robotics. So when they reach the university, they don't have much experience. That's why we convince them, or try to convince them, to go to RoboCup and to other events. So we need to teach them earlier. So I used to do some talks at primary and secondary schools, but they need a robot to practice. You know, you go there, you talk for an hour, but then they stay there without a robot. So they need experience, and we need to motivate the youngsters. So what we decide to do, I decided to organize an event in 2007 called RoboParty. RoboParty, and you will see how this works. So it's basically, we made this cartoon for the kids, and it's a 3 days experience. There are no competitions. It's purely educational event, and adults can help with fun, with enjoyment. So I decided to open a website and advertise it. So I was expecting about 10 schools to come here to our university to participate, and we would spend 3 days in a classroom to teach. But suddenly we got not 10, but 106 teams. So we had to change a little bit. We went to a sports pavilion and we put tables all around it. And we got registrations from all over the country. So we decided to teach all together, and we got about, with the volunteers, we got something like 500 people. And of course, we need our 4th and 5th year students as volunteers to help us on teaching the youngsters. So they spend 3 days. We give them a robotics kit, which we developed. They have to solder the components in the PCB, and then they have to assemble the wheels, the motors, all of that, and then they have to make them beautiful. Aesthetically, we try to convince them to do something nice, okay? And this is a picture of some of the robots, so you can see how creative our youngsters are. Besides that, we have a space, as you can see on the bottom area, we have a space where they can stop learning and they can enjoy themselves. And we have many, many activities. I will show you some of those activities. So here you can see the youngsters working, okay, building the robots, but you can also see some adults helping, okay? If they have some doubts, they call. While in RoboCup Junior, adults are not permitted to be next to the youngsters because they have to build the robots alone. In this case, adults are resources that we cannot left behind. I mean, they are very useful. We should use them to help teach the kids. So that's the working, once again, more kids working. And then we had another problem, which was most schools don't have much money for hotels, okay, for example. So we decided to have a space for them to sleep. So you can imagine 300 or 400 youngsters sleeping in sleeping bags in a public space. It was quite fun. Well, some of them don't sleep at all anyway, but that's kids. We also sorted out the catering problem, allowing them to use the food canteen. So it's a very, very low price. Right, like I told you, they can stop from time to time, they can stop an hour, and they can do something else. So we planned, you can see them watching, we have some demonstrations, for example, of judo or karate, taekwondo, demos, but they can also try it. Some gymnastics, some tennis table, some football. We have a swimming pool nearby, and they could try scuba diving, horse riding, chess tournaments. So many, many things they can do. That's why we call it party. It's not just robotics. It's not just learning, because 24 hours learning is tiring. So we give them time to enjoy themselves. And as you can see, this is a picture with one of I think it was 2010 or 2011, I'm not sure. That's a picture of all the participants, and those here in green are our volunteers. These are the ones who help them to build and program the robot. So basically, we give them a kit, a set of electronic components and mechanical components, and they have to solder the components here. You might wonder, well, kids, because we receive kids between 11 and 19 years old. So you might wonder, well, can they solder the components? Well, when we teach youngsters, they look to us and they learn everything we tell them. If you ask an adult to solder a component, if he doesn't know, he will tell you, well, I know how to do it. But the kid, he looks to us and he learns. He's so keen on acquiring information. So they do a good job. So they solder the components first on the PCB. Sometimes if they do something wrong, we fix it, so no problems about that. And then they have to put together the wheels, the motors, the base, the platform, all of that. And here you have the detailed information about the board, but I'm not going to waste time of that. But basically it works with, it's Arduino based, okay? And after they build it, they can add some extra components like a compass, a sonar, line sensor, grippers, XV communication, etc. So the robot is built in the first day, programmed on the second day, and in the third day we have some optional challenges if they want to participate. We have manuals in Portuguese, English, German, and Danish. The manuals are on internet, and the manuals are very, well, they have lots of pictures where you can see exactly what you have to do. Regarding the programming, you can program it using Arduino, using OpenRoberta or CoSpace platform. So basically, I'm not wasting too much time because I want to talk about Gerhard. Basically, the event is something like we teach them, you know, with not so formal trainings, but with trainings. Then they experience on the first they learn, then they experience, they have to assemble it and try it. And also they enjoy, on the third row, they can enjoy themselves. So we decided to have an invited guest to motivate youngsters. Why was that? Well, we want to tell them that robotics is not just building a robot and that's it. We want to show them the experience of some people and also some projects worldwide. So I put this challenge to Gerhard in 2009. And when I asked him, can you teach a bunch of kids how to become an engineer? I want to motivate them. I want them, but the important thing is I don't want you to use mathematical formulas. I want easy words. And he asked me, why is that? I said, because you are going to talk for kids between 11 and 19. And he was used to teach university students. So he said, yeah, it's a challenge, but of course I accept that. I will do it. So I was very excited about it, very happy, because I knew of his experience. I knew because Gerhard enjoys being with youngsters and teaching them. So it was very easy to convince Gerhard to come. But when I told Gerhard, RoboParty was not a competition, he asked, so how do you motivate the students? And I said, well, that's part of your job. I want you to motivate them. So he decided to call it, the title of my talk, which I copied from his talk, is basically, should I become an engineer? So he was first describing RoboCup Junior, how they could participate, what they would have to do it. And he gave some examples of the leagues. And then he was talking a little bit about what is a geek. And he was saying, imagine a bunch of lawyers talking about the law. Those are geeks. Imagine about a bunch of surgeons talking about brain surgery. Those are geeks as well. Geeks are not just computer science or robotics. So if you like what you are doing, it's enough for you to select that topic for the rest of your life, okay? And it's important that you select the job you want, because you are going to spend the rest of your life doing it. So he demystified robotics, and also he was explaining youngsters why it was so important to study, because you need to learn. If you don't know things, you'll never be a good professional. So he gave a lot of advices, and he was brilliant doing it. Of course, he didn't show any mathematical formulas like I asked him. So he showed him then some good players on football, because he was talking about soccer junior. He showed them some nice pictures, and he was convincing them to go for engineering. The kids were amazed by his talk. You should see, I don't have a picture of the public, but you should see it's about 400 or 500 youngsters looking at him, staring at him. How could it be possible to be such an engineer like Gerhard? and enjoy life and not using mathematical formulas. In fact, it was easy to be an engineer. That was his task. In the end, our rector received them, and we had some questions from the public. Manuela Veloso was also our invited guest in this 2009 RoboParty. And we didn't spend much time on this official thing. It was about 10 minutes with the rector, just welcoming them. And that was all, because we knew the public were youngsters. And then he was visiting the space. So you can imagine a space full of youngsters, and Gerhard was looking at them and telling them, do this way, do that way. And here you can see youngsters soldering the components, helping them. Look how young they are. Not the young kid on the lap of the lady, but one of the funny things is that on RoboParty, we have teams from schools with teachers, but we also have teams which are families, father, mother, and 2 kids, or grandfather and 3 grandkids. It's really, really a family thing. These are some examples of the robots they built, because then they start enjoying it, and they realize it's not so difficult to build a robot. And to be honest, I'm saying the truth. I mean, it's not so difficult. And once you realize how easy it is, you start getting new ideas. So robots were being built, and this was the environment, how you feel inside the pavilion. I mean, we used to have 4 teams on each table. Why 4 teams on each table, 1 on each corner? Well, so they can share experience. One team knows a little bit more than programming than electronics, and the other knows electronics, so they can help each other. So there is no competitions here. It's a very relaxed action. Once again, these were the parallel activities that we had in 2009. We had horse riding, we had circus activities, and we also had some airplane modeling, some demonstrations, okay? We also had a band, a rock band at night inside of the sports pavilion. So they're working and listening to the band. And you could see, I don't have the picture, but you could see Gerhard was also watching the band, and he was dancing and jumping like everyone else. Really funny. One of the, because like I said, he likes to enjoy life. One of the parallel activities was basketball. And suddenly I see Gerhard hanging up his coat, and he had decided to play again also. And he was throwing the ball, and suddenly you see a bunch of kids running after him, chasing Gerhard, and Gerhard was hiding the ball and playing basketball with a bunch of kids, which he didn't know. And this shows you how kids liked him and how him liked the kids. It was really, really amazing to see this. Now this is a group of robots built by, in the last day, we have some challenges for them. One is dance. If they want to participate, like I said, this is not a competition, this is educational, but we have challenge. They like to show what they build, what they do. And one of the challenges is dance, and they have to have a performance, but the table, I mean, the 4 teams all together, the teams that were sharing the same table, instead of competing, no, they have to share the code and share the robots. The other is Race of Champions, and another one is Obstacle Avoidance. And in the end, we give some, not trophy, but some souvenirs for the best teams. And Gerhard was also with us, handing him giving the awards to the winners and taking pictures with them. And it was really fun. In the end, Gerhard also gave a short speech describing what was his feeling. I mean, what was his opinion about RoboParty? And I can tell you, he enjoyed it very, very much because of relaxed environment, because of the party side and all of that. He also had the time to visit the city. Manuela Veloso was here, so we had a tour around the city with Manuela Veloso family. and they took some pictures. There was Gerhard visiting the city center. And in the end, we also have a dinner every year on RoboParty to thank the volunteers, not the participants, but the volunteers, to thank for their 3 days of work. They do it for free, and they enjoy it very much as well. So we have a dinner about 100 people, and we offer them a certificate, and I recognize each one of them independently. So there was the certificates I call one by one, and Gerhard wanted to be present in that dinner. And of course, I invited him. It was an honor to have him there. Afterwards, we took a picture with the volunteers. Well, you can see Gerhard around here. He was like part of the organizing team. And that was, I emphasized the party size. Why is that? Because Gerhard believed so much on this RoboParty that asked us to do it when he organized RoboCup in 2016 in Leipzig. He asked us to do a RoboParty there. He believed on RoboParty, and he had the courage of asking us to organize it, because the organization was all on his side, but he trusted us. So he didn't have to worry about it, and we took care of everything. So we went there, and you can see that's one of our training sessions. We were explaining how to build the robot. This is the working environment. You can see the secondary school students building the robot, and we have a team of 6 people there. So if they do something wrong on the robot, they guarantee that they fix it. So every robot leaves this RoboCamp working. The only reason why we changed the name from RoboParty to RoboCamp is because the organization the sponsor that the local organization got wanted to change the name, and no problem about that. We called it RoboCamp. For us, it's the paradigm of teaching without stress that is emphasized. That's important there. Right, you can see more youngsters soldering the components and then programming the robots. And then you can see one of the challenges was to follow a line. The participants put the robot in a track, and they're supposed to go around for 2 turns. And the one with the shortest time is the winner. So on the left, you have that apparatus. And here you have also some robots that were played on the dance challenge. Let me remind you again, we call it challenge. This is not a competition because, first of all, it's optional and there are no awards or anything like that. And the local organization also took care of some parallel activities like gymnastics between others or amongst others. And here you can see the participants enjoying themselves. And in the end, we took the photo as usual in Leipzig. And you can see our 6 organizers, the Portuguese RoboParty organizers, but also here you can see the German local volunteers who helped us a lot. They were unbelievable helpful. In the end, the teams they carry the robots home. The robot is for them, which allows them to continue progress their studies on robotics. So they go home or they go to school and they can continue programming it. That is the main purpose of RoboParty, which is they keep the robot for themselves. And finally, we had a picture, all of us had a picture of the symbol of Leipzig RoboCup 2016. So we started in 2007 doing the RoboParty. Unfortunately, this year it had to be postponed for COVID reasons, as you know. And we had the opportunity of organizing in 2016. In 14, we did go to Brazil because I spoke with trustees. But in this case, this was the first time someone believed on RoboCup and invited us, not us asking to go there. It was really, really unbelievable. Gerhard had this vision. Now, RoboParty or RoboCamp is an educational robotics event. It teaches how to build a robot, both electronics, mechanics, and programming. It's between 500, 600 participants, between 11 and 19 years old. The teams keep the robot. Mentors in Portugal have government recognized training so they can progress in their careers. That there are many ludic and sports activity, and at the moment we already have more than 1,500 robots already built over these 13 years. So this was the concept that Gerhard liked. My last slide, I told you I would come back to this. I never knew why the name of the team, of Gerhard team, was the Home Sparrows. And last year, when I went to the memorial of Gerhard, me and Luis Almeida, after the memorial, we were walking around the city and we suddenly came to a small square and we saw this. And I took this picture, this is my picture. And we finally find out why the Home Sparrows. So Gerhard had the spirit, you know the reason, the legend. You know, the spirit of Gerhard was with his city. Like I am with mine, he was with his city. He wanted to bring the story of his city all over the world. And I think that this concludes my presentation. It's 45 minutes now. Should I become an engineer? Well, answering this question, if I should be an engineer, yes, I should be an engineer if I have professors like Gerhard. Gerhard had a full life. He was like an inspiration to all of us. So if somehow you can listen to me, let me tell you, it was an honor to meet you and to meet you all these years. You were an inspiration to me, and I just thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ribeiro. This was a very heartwarming talk for all of us here at the Hochschule. Gerhard's home away from home, we like to think, although he was home in so many cities around the world when he visited and taught and played and enjoyed life. We couldn't help here in the recording studio, we couldn't help but laugh and nod along as we recognized so much of Gerhard that we knew in a completely different setting. And I think you really caught everything about him that made him a very special human being, as you introduced. This was very, very special for us as well, and we thank you very, very much. Also, I have to say, it was really inspiring, a la Gerhard, to hear about RoboParty and RoboCamp for so many reasons. It is such an incredible event, an incredible experience, and to see you present it so comprehensively with what to do with the sleeping arrangements, with the eating arrangements, with the volunteers, everything. It was truly a reminder of Gerhard as well. And also it's special for us because now we know the provenance of this gentleman who lives in our RoboCup at Home lab. So now I think everybody knows the story and it makes it all that more special for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're very, very happy. Thank you very much. So I don't know, have we some more questions, Dibul? Let's see. It was very, very special. I thank you. I had one personal question, actually, not so personal, but who usually won the robots versus human soccer competitions? We know who Professor Veloso was cheering for, but who usually won? Well, I don't take anything for granted.
It's quite funny because, in fact, in the first years, we had to be very calm with the robots because they would move slowly, etc. But nowadays, you have teams that the robots move at 3 or 4 meters per second. So we still win. because we are still, well, we are intelligent, we are humans, and we can pass the ball and avoid them, etc. But it is much harder now to win to them. We still win. 1 year we get a draw because the public and Manuela were asking for that. Yes. But that was one time. I mean, normally we win by 1 or 2 goals, not too much.
It's good to know. That's very good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
So I had another question prepared, and I have a feeling that to a large extent it is somewhat already answered now, but I will pose it nonetheless in case you have more to add. So everyone already agrees on the importance of outreach in all its forms, in particular to attract today's youth to our fields, to science and scientific fields, perhaps computer science, AI, engineering, robotics, all of this. But in addition to activities like RoboCup, like CyRock, like RoboCamp, junior or otherwise, what other activities do you believe could attract and support the next generation of scientists in an equitable way? So everybody talks these days also about equity. So a way that ensures diversity and helps to close the gap between those who have and those who have not. Now, what should we as a community be doing, or even be doing differently?
Well, as everyone knows, robotics, it's a multidisciplinary area. So you need many different people. You need people that knows about computer science. You need people that knows about electronics, about mechanics, about communications. So you need people from all over, and you have to work as a team. Nowadays, the kids have lots and lots of information that we didn't have. When I was young, there was no internet. There were books. Sometimes I have to wait 2 weeks for one book to arrive to my city. Nowadays, they have everything in their hand, but it's not just having the information, it's what do you do with it? And the youngsters, they need some guides. Why do I say that? I mean, you can have all the information you have in your hands, but if you don't know what to do with it, it's a waste of time. So the important thing is that you have a guide. If you look carefully, in RoboParty, I didn't say this, but you have one mentor, one volunteer from our team on each team. It means that if they have some doubts, they can ask, they just raise their hand, well, am I doing it correct or not? And Gerhard used to do that. He used to do some company to his students. I'm sure he did that. I do that. It's very important, not just giving the task and leaving, and giving the task and stay with the people. Kids love to spend these 3 days with tutors. We have some nice experiences. After RoboParty, we do a kind of inquiry. Did you like it? What would you change, etc.? And some kids said, I never spent 3 days with my parents consecutively like this. And this is something very special. The parents don't need to know robotics, because kids know how to do things. They go to internet and they find information faster. Now, the motivation is very important. And motivation is not just having the information. Motivation is having someone on your side and doing it with you. I know parents nowadays don't have time, but if you look carefully now with COVID, parents got the time.
Yeah.
So if they have the time, I mean, sometimes we spend time doing things for work. We have to do this, we have to do that, but we also have to work in our biggest project in life, which is our kids or our students. And that's how I think what we have to do differently for youngsters, it's to spend more time with them, helping them. That's my message.
That's true. Thank you so much. It's been extremely heartwarming and very enlightening for all of us here as well. We also now know about the sparrows, where the name came from. So in very many ways, we thought we knew Gerhard, and we've been delighted to know him that bit more through you. And I thank you very, very much once again for being here, for accepting to give the talk. And I hope that you'll come visit us when the time is right again, when things somehow enable this again. The place is welcome. Everybody who is Gerhard's friend, you are welcome here as well. It's a pleasure.
Okay, I also would like to thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure and an honor, and very important for me because I have to go through many of my pictures, and I got so many memories from Gerhard. And I also would like to thank you for having Rominho there. That teddy bear, I offered it to Gerhard, and now I know he's in a very good place.
He's well taken care of.
Thank you very
Looking
much.
forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. So thank you very much. And I send a quick reminder that this is the last talk in the symposium today. Tomorrow you can join us for the final day of the symposium, and it's a very packed day. So we have 8 speakers tomorrow, including a roundtable discussion at the end. And Professor Plöger will actually be giving the opening at 9. Made us starting the first talk at 9. So please be sure to watch the stream. The stream will actually be available on the website itself, the GKK Symposium website, as opposed to YouTube. So it will be, all talks will be recorded and made available there later, but you can actually watch the stream on the Symposium website itself. And you can also post your questions directly on the website without registration or anything. So we look forward to having you join us tomorrow. And I thank you all once again for joining us for today's talk. Thank you.